All right, so at this point, your robot model should have all of the materials and all the parts are connected, attached, using the attach key. All right, you can see if you went into edit mode that everything is still selectable as far as separate objects. And I gotta be careful not to move something when I do that. But everything should be attached as one. So you can still edit those pieces, but hopefully we're going to be good to go at this point. But if you're doing your own models and you realize, oh, I got to go back and fix some of that stuff, you don't have to detach it. You can still do the editing. All right, so the next piece is we're going to add a rig, which is basically a bone system. And the rig we're going to use is a cat rig. So let's get started. So under the Create button over here in the command panel, you're going to select the helper. And then from the helper, there's a drop down right under that. It's labeled standard normally. And you're going to change it to cat objects. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to add a cat parent. Okay. And when we do that, you'll notice your cursor has changed. Okay. So I'm going to put this parent right between the feet, just like that. All right. So it should go basically right between the feet of your model, so as close as you can get to that. I noticed that my model is not quite on that line in the middle, but I think it's still going to be okay. Okay. But actually, hold on just a sec. All right, so I realized when I was starting to add the cat rig that I haven't centered my object here. So if I have my robot selected, which is, I renamed it by the way, I started from the feet, went all the way up. I think that was on the previous video. I need to center this to be the center of the feet, and currently it's not there. It's like the center of maybe the right foot. Okay, so before I move on, I want to make sure that my robot is centered. So in order to do that, you're going to click the hierarchy over here in the control panel or command panel, and you're going to affect pivot only. And make sure you have the move tool on. And I'm going to drag this pivot point, which is the center of my robot or my model, and I want it to be basically in the center of everything I have. So I'm going to put it right between the feet and between the legs. Okay, so should probably view this from, let's see, from the top. And I have wireframe on here, which is useful for this. I can go right down the middle there from the top. Okay. And then let's go back to perspective. And I think I must have been looking at front view. Yeah. Maybe it was left. Let's see. I guess it was front. All right, still in wireframe. We can fix that in a minute. All right, I think let's do front view one more time here. And select that guy. All right. That pretty much is down the center. All right. You notice it's not the center of the grid, but it's the center of my robot. So that's good. All right. So I'm going to take this button, turn it off. There we go. Go back to this guy, and then we'll go default shading. Okay. All right, so perspective. All right, there it is. So now when I select it, you can see that the center is the center of the object. Okay, so you want to make sure you do that before you add a cat rig, so that it is built down the center and everything is nicely lined up. All right, so now let's go back to the create menu, and I'm already in the cat objects, but the helper cat objects, and now select parent, and right down the middle there. I'm just making it as large as my object is. All right. Okay. There are going to be some things that we're using over here in the command panel. We're going to be using a few settings often over here. So let's see. Yeah, okay. So when you're doing this, there's some pre-made or pre-built rigs that you could try if you like, if they match the different presets. We're just going to build our own because this is going to be a pretty simple rig for this robot. Okay. One more thing I want to do is just make sure that I just zero this guy out, and then I'm going to have to adjust it just a little because, as you guys saw, I don't think... Oh no, that's fine. Cool. So that's what I was hoping it would do when I made the center of my row. Okay, so just zero this out, and it should be right about the center. It may also be the center of the grid there, which is my robot is pretty close to. So I think that's good to go. All right. So there we go. So go back to editor, edit mode if you clicked out of that like I did. And then you're going to scroll down. Make sure that this is none. Scroll down on the tool, and it's going to start by creating a pelvis bone. So go ahead and click that, create pelvis. And actually want to make sure our model is see-through. So we're going to go to object, right click on it, go to object properties, and make it see-through. And go ahead and freeze it. And we won't show in gray. That's fine. Okay. So freeze and see-through. Click that, and then you'll be able to see that pelvis bone. And since we froze the model, we'll be able to select it. All right, so I'm going to start from this and just start to kind of modify what's going on. The pelvis will be right there at the lower body, and then you're going to choose the different views. I'm just clicking L for left and F for front, and then you can go P back to perspective. But you just want to line it up, and you can kind of see with the robot it's pretty simple. You can change the length or width of these things. So I'm going to choose the width just to match the size of this robot. All right, so a robot is a pretty simple model to start working with with rigs. That's kind of why I chose this one. All right, so that's good. What you also want to do is you'll notice that it has names, and you'll end up with a lot of bones. So you want to name them correctly. So I'm going to call this pelvis. That's what it is. All right, next step is we're going to add a leg. So click Add Leg. And you'll notice that a leg gets created based on kind of the size of your platform there. So if you made your platform really big, you might have a different size leg there. All right, so I'm going to go to Perspective. Okay, so with the leg, it comes with 3 parts. You have the upper leg, lower leg, and this is actually the ankle. And it all is rotating from the top, and then they rotate off of each other. So the leg rotates off the pelvis, and then lower leg from the upper leg, and so on. So as you're rotating these things, you can select them and kind of go. You can also change the size. So we want our knee to be, oh, hold up. Let's see. Let's do this. There we go. So I want it to be right around there. And it really should just be halfway on the leg. So something like that. That's actually works out really well. Okay, so from the front, you also want to kind of, oops, let's go to the top here. And let's move that in so that it lines up on that view as well. Okay, so a lot of this stuff is just kind of moving around and lining things up. You don't want this leg to be exactly straight and locked, but that's probably good enough. Okay, and like I said, the key to this not having to adjust it too much is making sure your base, when you added that parent, is not too large. It just kind of encompasses the feet. Okay, so if you made yours really large, you might want to just go back and undo that, because it'll make your life a lot easier. Okay, so let's see. There's from the left. Alright. Alright, so it's lined up pretty decent on the sides. And this guy you just want kind of be straight down. So I'm going to move the knee just a little bit forward like that. And it's going to be symmetrical on the other leg, so you can use the other leg as a guide as well. Alright, so I think that's pretty good for the leg size. Alright, so the next step is I want to change the length of that ankle just a little. Well, I don't want to mess it up necessarily. I'll leave it a little. You want the leg to have just a little tiny bend, but not much. There we go. Okay. So the next thing you're going to add, and let's just make sure these are named. So you can see that they're named LL, that's left leg. So left leg is the first one, and that's just the ankle. Alright, so from the ankle, you're going to list a number of digits. And this is going to be basically how many toes you have. So my robot's just going to have pretty much a box foot, so not going to use any toes other than just one. So I'm just going to enter 1 here. Alright, so when I do that, you'll notice that I get a bone that's on the bottom. And you can move this. This is basically the foot and this is the toe. Alright, so it's pretty much the same. If you had changed that to 5 digits, you would see, you would see more toes at the end of this guy. Okay, so you can move these separately because they're made to kind of bend, but you can double click and move both of them kind of at the same time. So I'm going to raise it up just a little. And it's okay if that bone is kind of touching the bottom, that's fine. Just going to put this guy kind of at the flat part. It's okay, like I said, if it's sticking out of the mesh. Alright, and then we're going to change, let's see. Change the width of these guys to kind of match. Alright. And I guess the depth a little bit. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, so something like that. And if you wanted to have some detail, you could rotate this top part up a little bit to kind of match the curve of that shoe. That's fine. Yeah, I think that's okay. So I'm gonna go back to move. Just kind of move it back to the center of the shoe. All right. So I think that's going to work for this model. I mean, if we had more detailed feet, we would probably spend a little bit more time on this. But I think that's going to be fine for what we want on this part here. So let's see. I'm going to go back to the pelvis, and what I want to do is just kind of click through the bones and make sure everything's named correctly, because I'm about to create another leg, and when I do that, it will duplicate everything. Okay, so I noticed that this guy is just called ankle. So I'm just going to put L, ankle, there. And that's digit 1. And I'll call this left foot. Okay, so that's all part of the left foot. Okay. Digit setup. We'll just call this, I'll leave it as 1. It's like left foot 1, left foot 2. This will be the base of the foot and the toes. Okay. So go back and click on the pelvis and then choose add leg. And what you'll see is you get another leg that matches the settings of what you have on the left leg. So now you have a right leg, so just going to make sure our leg is named correctly. All right. And then this should be called our ankle. And this is our foot. All right. Okay, so I'm going to stop right there and go ahead and save this. I saved it as cat rig, so cat rig dash legs. All right, so catch up to that point, and then the next part we will keep going.